Partly cloudy has turned to sunshine, I will have you know. 22 degrees Celsius. It is a beautiful day on the Adriatic coast, right on the border with Slovenia here, northeast of Italy, playing host to the Grande Arrivo after we had the big start in Belfast. So a day to dot the I's and cross the T's, put a finale to everything on the Giro d'Italia. Of course, we have our winner, Nairo Quintana. And we're just waiting to see who will take the red points jersey. Today, at the start of the day, it was all smiles for everybody after they've finally negotiated all the difficulty and all the hell of Montezoncolan. Cadel Evans was there, as was the Colombian champion, man who's been a popular rider, Miguel Angel Rubiano. Bardiani, 3 stage wins for them, a superb Giro d'Italia. Astana, who've had one of the revelations of this Giro. Mikel Landa signing in there, but it's all been about Fabio Aru. He's the man in the white on the right-hand side. Quintana in pink. Pink bike complete. So they started at 1:45 local time. Arredondo already hanging on to the King of the Mountains jersey. Fabio Aru won't be the best young rider, but of course he'll be stepping onto the podium at the end of the day. Lots of Colombians on the side of the roads. Possibly the biggest day in recent Colombian sporting history. A huge day, and of course all the Movistar team recognised for their good work with the pink handlebar tape as well. We saw Svein Tuft in an early break. Martin Cilingi would go and take more King of the Mountains points, but with that competition already done, it would be Julian Arredondo who would wear the blue jersey. 71.6 kilometres away from Trieste. It's that sort of day today. All smiles, all chatting, just putting in almost a cyclo-tourist finish to the Giro d'Italia. It is a beautiful day. And remember, it's not always been a big finish like this on the Giro. We've had time trials in recent years. We had the sprint stage back last year in Brescia. We're here as well this time. 71.5 k's out and everybody relaxing. It's been a slow, relaxed pace so far. And Sean, what are these days like to ride in?
Well, it's a lovely day to finish like this, and as you said, sometimes you have a time trial to finish, and that's always, you know, very stressful for everybody. But I think they've been dished out enough of stress over the last 3 weeks in this race. They need an easy day, and there haven't been many easy days in this Giro. The racing have been aggressive on the days where we might have expected a casual day, and then of course so many mountain stages and mountain top finishes. So as we can see here, sunshine, 22 degrees, everybody is really relaxed and they're just going to roll on to the finishing circuit here, and we will see them race, you know, the last number of laps here. And I think you have to hand it to everybody getting through this race, because it has been a grueling race, not alone with the route, weather-wise as well. So, you know, chapeau to everybody getting in, and they deserve a casual, you know, ride along and have a bit of a chat on the way into to get onto the final finishing circuit.
Plenty to celebrate for that man, Marco Canola, who took a very, very good win on a day we didn't expect to have a breakaway win. Last big sprint day that was on the map. Marco Canola doing really, really well to beat the men he was up against in that grand finale there. One of 3 wins for Bardiani. Who'll take the win today? That's the question. Their effort at trying to get the win will surely be Sonny Colbrelli today. And this is where we're racing to, the port of Trieste. Long time a border town, sometimes Slovenian. It's been neutral as well. We'll tell you all about that as we go on. We're off for a quick break, 70 k's to go on the Giro d'Italia. Sprinters' Day and a coronation party for the king of the Giro d'Italia, King Nairo Quintana. There's Adriano Malori in conversation. It's been that sort of day so far. Chat to your mates, talk about the rivalries, have a laugh at all the hard moments of the Giro d'Italia. And a lot of those hard moments came yesterday on the Montezoncolan. Fran Ventoso, though, road captain of the Movistar team, summing it up wonderfully. Was not a man who enjoys climbing, certainly not the Zoncolan anyway as a sprinter, but he said he enjoyed it so much. He had real fun with the fans up there. We saw the usual pictures of Adam Hansen as well, having a good time. Well, re-watching now Enrico Battaglini's win. And of course, most teams have got exactly what they wanted out the Giro d'Italia in terms of, you know, the victories being shared out. But who are the big winners and losers for you, Sean? Of course, apart from the obvious Nairo Quintana, is the champion of the Giro, no question about that. He's the pink jersey winner. Apart from that, who are the winners and losers for you?
Well, I think the man to look at is Aru. He's really stepped up to the mark because he came into this race, I suppose, expecting to be doing the domestique for Scarponi, but Scarponi losing out because of accident and getting injured, and then he was given the task of leading the team. He was the man who found himself in best and general classification, of course, and they had quite a few riders there. Brakovic as well, who was very unlucky to crash out and go out of the race, but he's really stepped up to the expectations, I suppose, from a lot of the press. And to win a stage, first of all, we said, well, he's got what he wanted to get out of this Giro, and then he just went on and really put in an unbelievable time trial, and by doing that got himself onto third place in the podium, and that's something I think it's one of the rides of this Giro for me. Quintana, yeah, there was always a little bit of a doubt there when he would be leader, that jersey on his shoulders for a number of days, however long it would be, and the pressures, would he be able to take it? And he's just as usual, so cool off the bike as on the bike, and he just gets on with the business there, and he's been the man of the race. But there's a lot of teams, if you go down through them all, some teams have had just a fabulous like Bardiani, they have a dream tour, but the teams who've got a victory, of course, has made it for them, and some of them have an extra bonus, or more than a bonus, maybe two bonuses, and then there's the ones who are very unlucky. If you go to probably Sky, they had a good start to the race, things looking good, and then problems started to hit, and crashes, losing riders, and then they put riders into breakaways, but just deserved to get a stage victory, I suppose, the performances they put up, but just unlucky they came up against better riders, and probably not the perfect finish for them, mountaintop finish, so they struggled a bit against better climbers. And that's it's been a very, very difficult race. This is one of the most difficult Giros again, and it's amazing, the racing we've had every day in the early part of the race. I think there was never a very non-interesting day totally. The flat stages there, they were always very, very aggressively raced. So it's been, as in the past, super Giro once again.
Really, really good Giro d'Italia. Of course, Sean's initial thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling at RobHatchTV as we watch the Freccia Tricolori. Italian Air Force painting the colours of the Italian flag over Trieste. A chat for Fran Ventoso and Samuel Sanchez on the right-hand side there. Ventoso has been important for Movistar. Movistar, their team has been key in guiding Quintana to victory. Only Movistar and Trek Factory Racing managing to keep 9 riders in the race. By the way, today we started with 156 riders. And you mentioned Fabio Aru in there, Sean. He's had an award already. He's going to get an extra prize as well as his podium place. He's going to win the Trofeo Bonacossa. That's a trophy awarded by journalists for what they consider to be the biggest exploit of this Giro d'Italia. We've seen Visconti, Cavendish, and the whole Leopard Trek team winning it in the last few years for different reasons. Cadel Evans, Sastre, Sella, Simoni, Basso a couple of times as well. We've seen a lot of prestigious names receive this trophy, so just gives you a realisation of what Aru has achieved at this Giro. And if we're looking ahead now, do we expect to see Aru really start to shine in all the Grand Tours? We're going to see him maybe at the Vuelta towards the end of the season?
Well, I think he will be in the Vuelta, and it's going to be an interesting one, of course, what is his position in the team now, because immediately with Nibali, it's going to start maybe discussions. He wants to be the leader of a team. Will he start moving? His contract, of course, how long of a contract has he got left? All of that is going to change. And when you ride a Giro like he has put in this time round, well, then he's definitely going to be thinking of going for a Giro or going for a Vuelta in the years to come. So will he make a change in team? That's another another discussion I think will come into light very, very quickly. And when you see him getting the award, of course, as well, he does merit it, because as I mentioned, he went off and got his stage victory, and then on the time trial to the the mountain time trial we had, you know, he was fighting with Quintana in the very end there. He pushed Quintana big time. I suppose Quintana had the advantage because he was behind, so he was made aware of the time gaps, and he put in that extra effort over the 2 or 3 final kilometres and just beat him by, I think it was 16 seconds. But you know, so it's just been a dream race for him. But now, you know, I think for Arrow things will change, because he realised that he can win a big tour with the right sort of a route. He could win any of the big tours, certainly the Giro, Tour of Spain, Tour of France in the years to come, because he's also young. He's a very young rider.
Nairo Quintana, the winner, yesterday was interviewed straight after the stage, said he doesn't think he'll be going to the Tour. I mean, we had it on an understanding that he wouldn't go anyway. I mean, certainly if you think of the Wiggins-Froome situation, yes, Valverde and Quintana get on, but I'm not sure Valverde would want the distraction of people talking about Quintana at the Tour. Also, if you're thinking of Quintana's health and just gradually bringing him into the big time, I tell you what, wouldn't be bad for him to have a go at the Welter at the end of the season, though, would it?
No, I think that's the most likely possibility. I don't think the Tour he will go for, because you know we've talked about that, and with Valverde he's going to be the leader, and I think, you know, they will just build a team around Valverde. What they will go for in the Tour is another question. Will he go for general classification, or will it be stages? But I think it's a bit too much for Quintana to expect him to go on the Tour of France, because he's a young rider, and of course, you know, he's a small lightweight one as well, so he needs time to recover. So I think yeah, end of season Vuelta would be the one. And of course, when you do the Vuelta, the World Championships this year is a very difficult route as well, so that will be good preparation for the Worlds. And you know, Quintana, if he's in the right shape, well, he will be a candidate at the World Championships at the end of the year.
Could well be. One thing that Nairo Quintana did say yesterday, as we see the Italian national anthem sung on Trieste, this is what we've been waiting for in terms of the air show we've been seeing. Freccia tricolore. Quintana, by the way, as we see the Italian flag, hoping to marry the Italian and French flags next year. He wants a Giro Tour double in 2015. We'll see if his team allow him to do that. There we go. Spectacular Italian flag demonstration. And Inno dei Manelli, Fratelli d'Italia, playing at the finish line. Well, this has always been a bit of a disputed town, Trieste. Slovenia's laid claim to it over the years. It's been in neutral territory after the war as well. But of course, the Italian Air Force nailing their colours quite literally to the sky there. So let's get on with the cycling. And let's go and hear from our main protagonist.
El momento más agradable de tu carrera, ¿no?
Well, the most pleasant moment of your career. Yes. A most beautiful moment. It's a dream come true. I've been dreaming for years to win one of the big tours. And this is now reality. Of course, there's the last stage. We've got to do well and finish it well. Past the finish line in Trieste with our hands in the air. Even the final climb was a monster. Could you enjoy it? Yeah, I could enjoy it, actually. I felt all the emotion of the people, all the energy they were transmitting to me, people from different parts of the world, Italians, Colombians, French fans as well, who were supporting me with their flags and their screams. They gave me added strength to go on climbing, and it's true, it makes me very, very happy and very, very moved. Well, 1-2 for Colombia with all the others behind. We both pushed forward, he was with his teammates, and we arrived both well at the finish line. That's true, I'm happy for all the achievements of all the Colombians, because all the Colombians and the people around the world discover and get to know and enjoy what Colombia really is. Of course, this isn't war, it's nothing bad, on the contrary. Colombia is love, and Colombia is a country that warmly receives everybody from different parts of the world. Colombia is a beautiful place. Come and enjoy and discover it. Nairo Quintana doing his bit for the Colombian tourist board there. Of course, with the war against FARC and all the nasty stereotypes that have gone around for a good few decades of Colombia, it is nice to see the Colombian hammering it home to say that this is a place to go and visit, and it is a beautiful, beautiful country. 63 k's to go. Cyclo-tourist pace today, sportive pace. We'll take advantage of that to go off for a quick commercial break as we're on our way into Trieste, where the action on the day will stop. That's the start of the Giro d'Italia caravan. We had Martin Chillingian's famed Toof just go out to try and battle it out for some King of the Mountains points early on, but there's been no racing since then. It's been an afternoon of congratulations, social conversations, smiles, fun and laughs after 3 very, very serious, hard and for some heartbreaking weeks out there in the saddle. We've had the Freccia Tricolore, the Italian arrows painting the sky in national colours. Not the first time we've finished in Trieste on the Giro d'Italia. We've had 20 stage finishes here. Right thinking, I think that it was Alessandro Petacchi that won last time in 2009. Remember that being a very, very hot day, just stage 2 then. Return of the finish to this Friuli, Venezia, Giulia area, though, really does reinforce the strong bond between the Giro and this region. It was actually the scene of the Grande Partenza of the Giro from Trieste in 1981. And we've had 3 Grande Arrivi, 3 big arrivals, ends of the Giro. 2 of them in Trieste, first one by Gianni Motta in 1966. As you see, the average speed, as we told you, about 36.2. Eddie Merckx won the Giro in Trieste in 1973. And just up the road in Udine, another place famous on the sporting map for its football team Udinese, Giuseppe Saronni was the winner in 1983. Here in 2014, Nairo Quintana will be the first non-Italian, of course, since Saronni, or since Merckx, pardon me, to win in the region. Merckx in 1973. It's an area, this, that is etched in the history of Italy, not just for cycling as well. After the annexation of the area to Italy, the Giro ended in Trieste, 30th of June 1946. We had protests, anti-Italian protests as well. Those that were in favour of the annexation of Trieste to Yugoslavia, blocking the caravan, blocking the route. Now, concrete blocks put down that day to make sure they couldn't come past. And we had the armed Italian guards responding, a right old mess. The Giro had to end the stage in Pieres then, equal times for everybody, neutralisation. But they got to Trieste anyway. Some riders escorted on military vehicles, headed to the finish line. And of course, the triumph, the end of the Giro was celebrated there. Started out with 22 teams and 9 riders here. 156 remain. Orica Green Edge down to just 2. Svein Tuft, who was out there being combative this morning. And Michael Hepburn as well, Neo-Pro. What's the end of your first Grand Tour like, Sean, when you've ridden it for the first time? Any special sensations? Because it's all brand new to you, remember? Yes,
well, it depends on what way you come into a big Grand Tour, your first Grand Tour. If you come in and you're a rider who has won in other big races like Tour of Switzerland, like Dauphiné Libéré. If you've won stages in those in the mountains, well, then you're expecting to win. So there's a bit of an expectation there from yourself really and from the team. But if you go in as a helper in the team, you can do well, you can win a stage. That is so exciting. But then to get to the finish, as you mentioned, to go on and finish, and it's a great feeling because a 3-week tour for everybody. You all make that 8 or 10 day race, but a 3-week tour is a big challenge, and you're just wondering how you're going to get through that final week, and that's always a task. You're wondering, will you be able to get through, and when you get to the final day. And when you have a final day like we're having today, well, it's such more enjoyable because you ride along with the riders. There's a great atmosphere between everybody who has been battled out for different competitions over the 3 weeks. As we mentioned, if it's a time trial, it's a different thing. You're out there alone, you do your time trial and you finish up. But here, it's just a magnificent occasion for everybody to be able to roll along, for the first 50% at least of the stage and soak up the atmosphere with your fellow competitors.
Well, there is a competition to come today. There's an important sprint to be won, and of course, we've got to finish off the competition for the red jersey. It's not over yet, is it?
No, it's not over yet. When you look at that classification, Bohani is leading, but the intermediate sprint is going to be of importance, not alone for the points classification, but for that classification as well, the winner of the intermediate sprints. There's two riders up there, so they will be trying to go for it. But I think because of the points classification, the big sprinters really going to target here, well, then it's not going to be possible for the guys who have been out in the breakaways and marking up a lot of points in that intermediate sprint competition. But Bohani is going to, make this sprint with the other ones, because in the end, if he has a problem, if he doesn't get a good run in the sprint, for example, or if there's a crash occur, he gets caught behind it, he could end up losing his points red jersey. And he's at the battle over through the climbs as well. And another rider who has changed a bit since he's won the stages here, and he's really put in a great tour as well, because he doesn't get through the big mountains very well, and he's got through real strong in this one.
Real strong ride. It's a tough ask, even with these new rules, to win the points jersey on the Giro d'Italia. There's also the stage win. There's the likes of Bohani and Viviani going for that, Nizzolo. What about Luka Mezgec? He could finally paint Trieste Slovenian. There'll be a lot of fans for Luka Mezgec there today. Bozic riding it as another Slovenian rider as well. It's going to be an absolutely huge day as we hear Nessun Dorma playing at the finish line as well. Tell you what, there'll be nobody sleeping. Nessun Dorma in the Movistar team tonight. There'll be a lot of partying going on, I think, and some of them, I heard, Sean, started the party early last night. Tinkoff Saxo, 3 litres of Dom Perignon ordered to the table of Mick Rogers by the boss, Mr. Tinkoff. Not a bad celebration, is it, that?
No. Well, when you've got the Dom Perignon on the table, you have to drink it. You certainly can't leave it behind. And I'm sure they had a few glasses last night, and well deserved, because the team, they have had a fabulous race, and especially Rogers to win 2 stages here. And as we mentioned, when he won his first one, I was trying to remember back if he had won a stage in a big tour, and he actually hadn't. And the races he have won, the palmarès he has chalked up, to win 2 in this one, and then to win as he did yesterday on the a monument climb, that is just the real creamy on the cake, as they say.
We head to Trieste. What about the victorious Colombians? Here's journalist Héctor Urrego.
Giro histórico para Colombia.
Historical Giro.
Totalmente.
Yeah, totally.
Es la llegada del ciclismo colombiano a la cúspide.
Of course, it's been fantastic for the Colombians.
Durante muchos años. Pero especialmente
Colombian cycling right on the top.
Of
course, now we've got a brand new generation of riders. Everybody remembers Herrera, Parra. But now we've got a brand new generation for Colombia that are doing things.
¿Cómo se explica los sucesos colombianos?
Of course, they're more European than Colombian now, spending all the time up here. Can you explain the new generation success? Well, they're kids who, of course, who came over to Europe and learned very, very young. Urán spent 8 years in Europe. Betancourt spent 6 years in Europe. And Quintana's been over for 4 years. It was the only real way to teach them, for them to learn, to live here and train here. It is very, very different to what the likes of Parra did. Of course, they still lived in Colombia and they only came for the races. Of course, they have a natural talent. They have the mountain talent for the climbing. But they've also demonstrated that they have a talent for all types of races. Of course, we've had the world champion, Santiago. And, of course, Rigoberto as well, doing so well in the Olympics. Come across the finish line. Beautiful, beautiful place, Trieste. Very unique city. Again, feels Italian and doesn't at the same time. Very much to do with its history and its geography. Here's Valerio Agnoli at the back. Happy day for him, happy to finish. Ryder Hagedal just in front of him. Mark Hoos as well. Said that it's been a fantastic Giro d'Italia for him and Belkin. And of course, they've had a good GC result with Wilco Kelderman as well. Colombians, well, their team's there. It's been the best ever Colombian Grand Tour, really. Plenty of stage wins. And, of course, the first ever Giro winner. In fact, Nairo Quintana is the youngest Giro winner for a decade, since Damiano Cunego, who was 22 then. Quintana, of course, 24. And there's plenty of celebrations going on back in Colombia. Big screens erected in the capital, Bogota, and in the regional capital where Quintana comes from, Boyacá. Movistar providing all that entertainment. Quick break for us. See you in a minute. Circuit of just over 7 kilometres around Trieste. 7 circuits to make. There's Johnny Hogeland making his way to the front. Is he going to go on the attack and put himself out there? Not seen enough of that in this race. Nasser Bouhanni wants to get the front, and Sean, they're just starting to up the pace a little now that they've reached the city. They've got a show to put on for the public, a show to put on for the millions watching at home, of course. Stage on the Giro's about to be raced.
Yes, well, when you get onto a circuit, it's always going to start upping the pace before they get to it. You know, to be in the position in the top 30-40 riders going onto it, because if they start pushing on with a team, well then you're going to have them make quite an effort to get to the front. And we can see there anybody with interest for the intermediate sprint there here, and we can see Bouhanni, and we can be guaranteed the rest of the sprinters will start coming as well to the fore for this final intermediate sprint of the Giro for this year. The interesting one was at the opening of our programme, I was just looking back there, Challengi, of course, he won the first GP back in the stage in Belfast in, I think it was Cushion Hill or something, that was the name of the climb, and he probably wanted to get the last one of the race also, so he has something special to, you know, to do that, and that was the reason I think he was allowed out in front a bit, because normally on a stage like this, you know, it's really gruppo compacto all together, and they just roll along as we have been seeing, so they were allowed out for a little moment to go for the GPM prize. But yes, as we come onto the circuit now, we will start, you know, to really up the pace, and it's normally as you go through the finish line for the first time, it's the team of race leader will roll through, and then of course there'll be a lot of the sprinters teams get into action.
So a parade for Nairo Quintana with 54 kilometres to go. That intermediate sprint that Sean's talking about comes at 28.8 kilometres to go. We'll come across the finish line, and then after that we'll have 4 more laps. Wonderful view, so good that the sun shines out. We've had all sorts of weather in this Giro d'Italia. A lot of memories, lots going on. Sean, I'm being asked by David Hunter at Cycling Mole on Twitter, by the way. Remember, get your questions into Sean. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling at RockHatchTV. And David's asking Sean, what's your best moment of the race?
Best moment of the race, I think the individual time trial 2 days ago. I think that was an exceptional time trial, and the battle was on so much for the, you know, the general classification. We were wondering, could Duran produce a time trial like he had in the first individual time trial, where he, you know, could really put in a great performance and put Quintana under difficulty, but not at all. I think you know, the overall winning of this race, Quintana proved he was the strongest, and it was a battle big time for the places in the on the podium, second and third place, and of course the first number of places down to the 5-6 places, and they are the ones which is important. The top 5 is you know, the real importance. Top 10 as well, the riders, they, you know, they fight a bit for that when you get into the final week, but that was all to play for, and that is amazing when you get to, you know, 3 days to the end of a race and they're still, you know, all on for, you know, the places in the top 5 in general classification. The battle is still going on.
Lots to play for in this Giro d'Italia. And look at this, the emotion of the fans. Yes, we had 1 or 2 going overboard yesterday, but you would not swap the Italian emotion of the Tifosi for anything. Yes, it's cliched, we know that, but it's cliched because it's true. We see it every single stage out there on the Giro d'Italia.
Well, that's the good thing about biking, you know, that's why we see so much spectators coming out in all sorts of weather. You know, horrible conditions, they still come out for these mountain stages, and, you know, all the big tours, like the people you see on these mountain finishes, the mountain top finishes especially, they can get so close to the athletes. I know there's a danger there, and we're always concerned about, you know, the welfare of the riders. But you know, when you look at other sports, you cannot get near an athlete. It's not possible, and that is the reason we get so many hundreds of thousands of people on the roadside in all the big tours and in a lot of the other races as well. The classics races, you know, the Paris-Roubaix, Giro Flanders. The number of people we get on the roadside, it's just unbelievable.
Wonderful. This is the only real obstacle in this final circuit. It's a climb that lasts for about a kilometre, has a decent average of 4.5%, but has a couple of little ramps up to 7, 8, 9%. You can see the descent is certainly 9%. Going to make things interesting on we get to the final few laps, isn't it?
Yes, it is going to make it a bit difficult for the teams, you know, preparing the sprint to keep a number of riders on the front. It's not going to be easy with this climb. You know, almost a kilometre. The first part is kicks up a bit. We see 7%, and then you get the last 300 metres, 250 metres. It just kind of eases off a bit, but it's still going uphill gradually. So when you're going at a real fast rate, it's going to be a problem for a team to keep 2 or 3 riders who are preparing the sprint together. You know, they start losing positions, and will there be somebody who will try and, you know, go for a long one there, because it's around the 3 kilometres out. If you can really go, you know, in a strong attack, and it gets, you know, messed up the team who is leading out their sprinters, well, then we could see somebody, you know, holding on. But it's always difficult when you have a big peloton. There's so many riders going to be there in the very final. It's not like where you have maybe 25 or 30 riders, and teams haven't a lot of riders. But we must remember also, a lot of teams, they have lost a lot of riders. So this is, you know, a different situation to what we've been having in some of the earlier days of the race.
Lots of viewers who've joined us from down under in Australia during this Giro d'Italia. A question from M now, who has been tweeting to us regularly. And M's asked, who surprised you most in this Giro d'Italia? I know you've talked about Fabio Aru. Anybody else that's really jumped out and you thought, ooh, I didn't expect them to do that?
Well, I think Rogers, that's a surprise to me. Not because he's Australian, but you know, the performance he's put in. And when you look at the general classification, like, he's been there riding for Micah a lot, and he's still in 18th place in general classification. And you know, he's coming back after being out for a while. It's amazing the form he has got. And sometimes when you get, you know, a bit of rest period and you come back and you can train well, you know, you can perform, you know, you come back fresh. And that is something we see riders, you know, from having an accident as well, where they're out for a number of weeks and then they come back and they seem to get this unbelievable run of form. But for Rogers yesterday, of course, you know, to win that, you know, monumental stage, and you know, being in the break all day. And when you look at the riders he was with, you know, you'd say, well, it's going to be always difficult for him. And of course we did see the problem with the rider Buongiorno who was with him. That was something, you know, a disappointment for the Italian rider. But that's bike racing, you know, you need a bit of luck, or maybe cause you don't need any, you know, little bit of bad luck in the races. And unfortunately for him, but take nothing away from Rogers' victory yesterday, and we could see the team chef there, the way he was excited at the finish. The team owner.
The owner, everybody. Of course, yeah, chef being the French word. You're very much, your French bike vocabulary still ringing through from all your years in the teams. Yes, the chef, top man, Mr. Tinkoff himself, buying the champagne, as we said last night. Must remember, he's been cycling most of the stages as well, ahead of the breakaway.
I wonder did he cycle yesterday to the finish.
Brave man if he did, isn't he? You and I didn't take it on. Cruise ships in port, they've had them putting on all the noise and the foghorns as soon as the peloton entered into town today. Just less than 50 k's to go. Movistar leading them through on the passage of the finish line. We're in Trieste, it's the finale of the Giro. 7 laps of this circuit then. Those are the guys on the ship. Not many in the pool, they'll want to watch the Giro. Cruises around the Adriatic, it's that time of the season now, the weather's beautiful. Now, Sean, we were talking about moments of the Giro. Mark Jermy's written in, and I'm going to go with him for my moment of the Giro. Stefano Pirazzi finally getting his win. Yes, it had nothing to do with the general classification, but cycling fans and cycling fans in Italy got their chance just to slap down all the journalists who've been having a real go at him throughout the years. And this is a guy who both you and I are self-confessed fans of because he lights up the race. And Stefano Pirazzi's win for me was something of a real triumph for cycling against adversity, the old-fashioned cycling where if you don't give it a go, then you never know. It certainly wasn't riding to watch that day, was he?
No, you know, Pirazzi, he's just gave so much entertainment, as we mentioned many times, and you know, to get into a breakaway with a flat finish with, you know, quite a big number of riders, it was always going to be odds against him to do something. If it was a small mountaintop finish, well then, you know, he always had the advantage, but he played his cards so well, and we see the emotion when he got to the finish. And you know, you just have to try. You never give up. You know, you never down the head, and he proved that after, you know, so many people, I suppose, saying to him the way he rides, he attacks at any time. And I've mentioned probably in the past number of years as well, you know, he attacks at times when you'd say, you know, what is the point? If he wait a bit more, made the calculation, you know, he could possibly win the stage. But when he did go on the attack, well, there was, you know, impossible, you know, really to see him doing that. But that is cycling. Sometimes when you see a guy attacking, and I have, you know, said, well, it's not going to happen, and suddenly it does happen, and it works out for the guys because of circumstances, tactics behind in the main group. So yeah, for Pirazzi it was a big day, and for Bardiani, of course, that is one of the big moments of this Giro as well. But when you look back through the results and you look back over the days, there's so many of them. I think, you know, when you see Kittel, the way he was sprinting in the beginning, and
well, that sprint in Dublin was special, wasn't it?
Dublin, yes, the way he won that sprint in Dublin, that was, you know, a special one in the very earlier days. So there's so many of them out there. If you go through day by day, there's, you know, there's certainly a handful of them there which you could pick out.
Well, talking of Dublin, Mauro Vegni, organiser of the Giro d'Italia, of course he's going to face a lot of questions after it. He stays the organiser for the minute, but there'll be a lot of complaints about the stages and the mess earlier on in this week. But he's already said that the next Giro d'Italia will be entirely on Italian soil. So the 2015 route will take in only Italy. I'm not sure whether he meant that we wouldn't have the every couple of year traditional excursions into Switzerland and Austria as well that we see mid-Giro. I'm not sure whether that was totally discarded or not, but in terms of starts and finishes, it will all be in Italy. Colombia has made it to Trieste. I can tell you, Nairo Quintana's mom is here. Nairo Quintana's partner, his young child, is here as well. And I can tell you, Colombia is live on the television. Everybody's by the radio. It's early on a Sunday morning. It's worth it, though. And of course, the whole of Latin America will also be celebrating this triumph anyway. Certainly those who are interested in cycling. It's a victory for their continent as much as it is for the country of Colombia. Big screens I told you about as well in Bogota, the Colombian capital. And down in Boyacá, where Nairo Quintana comes from. 46 Ks to go. We're on the second lap of this final circuit. Is it going to be Nasser Bouhanni's day to put himself into red and confirm it? He's been wearing the red jersey for an awful long time now. Points classification to be sorted out. General classification already done and dusted. Nairo Quintana and Movistar just keeping it safe for the minute. They're on the descent after the small climb that's involved in this circuit. Certainly not a pan-flat circuit, as you might expect on the final day of the Grand Tour. .45 Ks. Nobody from behind yet really coming to the front to increase the speed. Movistar doing that job well enough. Remember, they've got the whole team on the job today. They've got a really well-balanced team as well. We've talked about Fran Ventoso and his work on the front. Time trialists have Malori and, of course, Castroviejo have been there. Castroviejo climbing so well. Quintana pushed to the front here. I don't know if they're going to let him ride across the line before the sprint teams take everything up. Oh, not time for that. Here we go. Attacks are going to start, and it's the man who started this in pink, Svein Tuft, who's going to come out And Svein Tuft is going to be joined by, of course, another expert breakaway man on the flat, Lars Yttingback. The racing's on, the racing has started. Svein Tuft, look at that elbow, still recovering from the crashes he suffered more than 2 weeks ago. Out here, trying to form a break, and the race finally starting to take some shape. Lars Yttingback is with him. They quickly do a couple of turns. This is the final kilometres, so we're going to get a very good look at it. Narrow road here. Interesting to see what sort of obstacles there are for the sprint. There's that red flag out to show them that the corner's a tight one. In fact, it's the chicane that then takes them left. So Svein Tuft, Canadian, the first maglia rosa of this Giro d'Italia. Out there in front of Lars Yttingback. Movistar not exactly doing the chasing at the minute, but they're riding on the front. Sky sent a few riders there as well. Michael Hepburn ready in case perhaps Tuft's effort is brought back. Lars Yttingback there, and the pace has increased now in the peloton. Sprinters teams waiting for the correct time to get involved. 6 laps to go then. Lars Yttingback leads them over, and there's a good 200-250 metre advantage at the minute for the break. Movistar content with how things are going. Can he be Française de Jeudet? Of course, if Nacer Bouhanni can take that red jersey home, their Giro will have been given a real sense. They've had finally some purpose. Of course, they want Bouhanni to finish safe and keep the red jersey, but a placing might not be a bad idea as well if you can get that. He wants to be on the podium at the end. Nacer Bouhanni.
You just see a Colombian climber there. Want to climb the lamppost.
Want to climb everything. Great to see the Colombian fans everywhere.
And we just see Movistar there. They're putting Quintana on the front just to calm things for as long as possible. They were hoping that he'd be left right on the front for a couple of kilometres, but some of the riders with other ideas, teams saying, well, you've had enough of the front with Quintana, and we have these 2 men in front, Back and Tuft, and they're going to push on here. And it'll be interesting to see, will the sprinters teams really, try and close them down? I don't think so, because with 2 men in front, the major points for the points jersey will be taken here. So I don't think we will see Française de Joux or the other teams who are in contention there for that classification really pushing on here. It'll be just Movistar will control the situation, and they possibly could stay out there and take the maximum points.
5 laps to go then. Big performance by Garmin considering what happened on the first day. Ryder Hagedal's done really well to get in the top 10.
Yes, I think they have battled on well, and Hagedal, of course, here we've seen him. He's, I think, got the best out of this race. He's, really went out there and tried to get any time back when the opportunity presented itself, and we did see him on the bigger climbs. He was in difficulty. The individual time trial, he paid a bit much there. I think he suffered from the efforts he was making, and but still has showed himself and finishing up quite strong, and quite a good place in general classification.
Very good place in general classification, certainly considering what happened on that first day with the crash. There he is, just chatting to André Cardoso, with whom he managed to climb the Zonco line yesterday. Thanks to Trevor on Twitter, who sent in a really good question, Sean. The 97th Giro from Belfast to Trieste. What's its legacy for the big start on Ireland? Of course, we haven't touched on this for a couple of weeks. Do you think the legacy could be the reinstatement of the Tour of Ireland?
Well, I think it's always good to have a race like Giro starting, because we see the reception, and the support it got there, and that will make potential sponsors realise that cycling is really has a great following in Ireland. Over the last number of years it's grown so much, and that's something I think the promoters and the people going to organise it, trying to get a sponsor on board. I think it's great to see how well it was supported in the stages in Belfast and in Dublin. So roll on, and hopefully as quickly as possible that we will have a Tour of Ireland back on the road, which we had for so many years, and it's far too long since we haven't had it, and I think there's definitely an opportunity there. But again, of course, it has to go through all the UCI, get a place on the calendar. We have so many events now all around the world, and there's all these new events coming up, so that is going to be, to get a suitable date, it's not too easy, but hopefully that it will be in the near future.
Fabio Duarte, start of the Giro, wouldn't have been thinking he'd be having to do a bit of this. Domestique work for the leader. It's the final day, repaying all the work and support that's been done for him in the mountains. He's going to end up 26th. Disappointment, the only real Colombian disappointment we've seen so far in this race. Arredondo is the other big name to talk up from Colombia, as well as Quintana and Uran, coming in and winning the mountains classification. Argentinian supporters as well. That looks like a Uruguayan flag to me. Sven Tuft and Lars Jettin back on the climb. Average of just under 5%. 39 k's to go. Racing is on. Back with it in just a minute. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling at Rob Hatch TV for all your Giro review comments. And we're about to see the end of the race. 38 kilometres remain. We're racing around the streets of Trieste, city that has been pushed from pillar to post between countries, really, between Slovenia and Italy and the neutral zone. Of course, it was heavy battleground during the Second World War, controlled by NATO, and there's the frontier as well between East and West for quite a long time. Well, I've been talking about Française des Jeux. Nasser Bouhanni, can they do it again today? Ever since Marcel Kittel left the Giro, it's been they who have dominated the sprints. Perhaps have one or two less wins than they would have liked. But it's time to go and review the Giro. Look forward to today's finish with their directeur sportif, Martial Gaillan. He was speaking to us before the day. Well, double goal for us today. The first goal is to keep the red jersey. Best sprinter, thanks to 26 bonus points at the finish. Well, with Nasser this morning, we compared that situation with boxing, as he loves boxing. Nasser leading by points in this fight on his rival Nizzolo. So we'll try to keep the advantage without making a mistake. Keep our eyes open and on Nizzolo. And of course, the cherry on the cake, the second goal, would be to see Nasser winning his fourth stage. For us at Française des Jeux, it would be exceptional, because we've never won 4 stages on a Grand Tour so far. We're already in our own Guinness Book of Records with 3 victories. So you can imagine what a fourth with a red jersey would do for us. It would be absolutely amazing. Nice little summing up there, Sean, of what this means to a team like Française des Jeux. Yes, they often target the Tour de France, but of course haven't really produced the results that them being a French team would demand. Coming to a race like the Giro here, foreign race for them, of course for their sponsors, nowhere near as important as the Tour, but putting in their best and record performance.
Yes, well, I think when you look at 3 stage victories already, a possible 4th one in any big tour for a team, that is, a big performance. And if they can do that today, get that 4th victory. And as we said, you have to be careful in the sprint, because first thing is the red jersey, the points classification. You have to try and think about that. So I suppose taking a lot of risks that you might not think about if you're just going for stage victory only. And if you get into difficulty, well, then you lose a number of places. So for Bohani, that is going to be the one he has to make that calculation. And I think the perfect scenario is that if he can get his team on the front with a number of riders in the final couple of kilometres and really make a fast pace and just give him a good lead out, that takes him out of danger. But if you get crowded out a bit and teams start coming over you, flushing over left and right, whatever the case may be, and that's where it gets a bit complicated. So it is going to be nervous times, more nervous times than it would be just if it was a normal sprint for a stage victory, because of the points classification, and he wants to win that. He's won his 3 stages, as Marcel Gaillan said, to hold on to the points jersey. That is the first target, and then of course the icing on the cake would be to win another stage.
36 seconds. 35 k's to go. Interesting that Sky are contributing to the chase here. They've put their man in. Remember, we've talked about this a lot. Sky, perhaps criticised in a lot of quarters for overly concentrating their resources on one Grand Tour. It's certainly something that most real cycling fans don't particularly like to see. Of course, we've seen it in the past, and we haven't enjoyed that. There are more races than the Tour de France. But they came here with a team that had to deviate from its original plan, with Richie Porte deciding in the end not to do the Giro because he wasn't in the right condition. They've been looking for stage wins that we certainly cannot fault them for trying. We've seen Dario Cataldo, Edouard Boasson-Hagen and Philip Dijkner in particular being excellent. They've discovered another climber in Sebastian Henao. Today, Sean, is this the day for their stage win with Ben Swift?
Well, if they could get a stage victory, well, then that would make the race for them, because they have been up there, they have been in the thick of the action over many stages, and if they could just get a stage victory out, well, then it would turn out to be a good tour. And of course, we're always looking for a Richie Porte. That was the plan with Sky, but unfortunately it doesn't go to plan all the time, and they've had the problems where he's been sick, so it's really upset their plan for this Giro, and it's just not really been a good one for them. A team like Sky, you would expect them to get at least a stage, but maybe they can do that today.
We'll see how they go. Andre Cardoso there. Back to the stage today. Who's going to challenge Bohani? Elia Viviani says after a tough week in the mountains, the final stage of the Giro is the most beautiful, the most symbolic, and of course dedicated to the sprinters. We suffered very much this week with the goal of just getting to Trieste to do this sprint, which is the most beautiful of the Giro. I've certainly suffered with some flu and some things that didn't work out well. How do you beat Bohani? Well, we've got to just not make mistakes in the sprint. We have to calculate the right timing, start sprinting in the right conditions. And according to me, he's not unbeatable. We've got to do it. The legs count more than results in previous stages today, don't they? Yeah, I think for sure the rider who is past the best in this very tough week, nobody's at their best here. The winner will be the one who is the most resilient. So today different from previous sprints for you as well, Sean?
Well, that is going to be the interesting thing, how they got over the last number of days. They definitely have struggled, the sprinters. They cannot get through those difficult stages without really digging into the reserves and suffering. And how much have they suffered? How well have they recovered? That could be a difficult one for today. If somebody has really, been suffering in the mountains, well then possibly Bohani. Normally he doesn't like those climbs, and he hasn't been through a 3-week tour to get over the mountains. Will he be under his best to what he was in the earlier part? And as we heard there from Viviani, the other sprinters, how well they've got through. So it's going to be an interesting one. We could see a surprise where, Bohani, he looked unbeatable there a week ago, but now the end of a third week after a very difficult week and a lot of mountains, will he be as explosive as he was?
And we've also seen this climb as well. I think we're getting a good look at it. Bohani's getting a good look at it. Will that be looming in his mind? Because we've seen one other attempt, particularly by Sky, right at the end of the first week or at the start of the second week. I'm trying to remember back, but there was a lot of pressure. I think it was Salsa Maggiore Terme. Sky put a heck of a lot of pressure onto the final climb. It almost distanced everybody. Boani's team just did a good enough job, and I think they were probably helped by a bit of a crash coming up to the end that put out the likes of Swift and other sprinters like that. But if Sky do a good job and then other sprinters perhaps who are the stick legs of the likes of Boani and Viviani hang on, I'm thinking much more the likes of Colbrelli and people like that. Could it be between them and Ben Swift, maybe?
Well, I think, yes, the tactic, they might try and make it that bit more difficult on this final climb. And, of course, you know, it's a position with 3 kilometres to go. It's going to be going, you know, at full rate. They're going to be prepared the sprint for quite a long time before that. And some of the teams who feel that, you know, the sprint that they have got, he can get up the climb a bit better. They might just, you know, put in a bigger effort on that climb to see can they put Bohani in difficulty. But again, it all comes down to how much you're recovering, how strong you are at this point in the race.
Although Manuel Belletti will be looking for something today. We've already talked about Johnny Hogeland and the fact that it's been a little bit of a disappointment from him so far. There's the King of the Mountain showing things off, but today he's going to have to do a job. Trying to work for Giacomo Nizzolo, another of those riders who, if it is made difficult, rather like Ben Swift, you'd expect him to do a decent job at getting over that final climb. We shall see. 21 years since a team led by Unsue won the Giro d'Italia. 21 years ago it was Miguel Indurain. This time it's going to be Nairo Quintana. Gap is out at 41 seconds for our 2 breakaway men. We still expect the sprint coming up in just over 30 kilometres time. Intermediate sprint coming up. 28.8 k's to go. Next passage to the finish line, we'll see the points dished out. Lars Yittingback and Svein Tuft's going to come across the line. As our producer Vincent joked a little earlier on, half the Orica Green Edge team's in the break today. They do cross the line. Lars Yittingback will take the maximum points. Here we go, Nasser Bohani's going for a 3rd place. Wants some more points, wants to make this red jersey safe. They've managed to sneak out there. Cannondale chasing them down. There's going to be no problem, though. Clever tactic, Sean, from Française des Jeux.
Yes, did not see where he came from. A little bit further back, it looks like, out of the group there, and just came suddenly and takes what the points that are left, and he's securing it and making it a bit more secure there, the points jersey. So he's definitely up for it here and wants to, by all costs, win this one outright.
Interesting that Movistar have stopped riding now at the front. Their job is done, really. Only Fran Ventoso is in there. I wonder if Fran Ventoso is going to get the freedom to go out and try and get a win as well. He's had an important job to do so far in this Giro d'Italia. Remember, he's a man who has won Giro d'Italia stages, and what a perfect ending that would be.
Yes, well, he is riding super. We've seen him in the climbs. He is just going so well, and that is a good indicator, of course, if you can, you know, be there in the final week and riding up and down the climbs, which he was doing the past number of days. He's in good shape, and he has, you know, quite a good sprint as well. He's noted for that, so he might just hang around here and see what will happen. But I think there's a lot of the guys here, like Ventoso, who will be hoping that stay around in the top 10 and see what happens. If some of the other sprinters get into difficulty where they just get a bit blocked in and you get a good run at it, you get the right wheel, well, then it's possible. But against the likes of Bohani and co, it's going to be difficult for the likes of Ventoso, because I think he hasn't that outright speed anymore.
No, yeah, the days of beating Cavendish like he did 2 or 3 years ago, I think are gone for Fran Ventoso. And of course, I think the way we've seen him climbing, his training as well, he would have sacrificed some of that speed, wouldn't he?
Yes, I think we've seen that when you do ride on the front for kilometre after kilometre on the climbs, well, the outright speed, you know, he's going to be missing that, and unless you train specifically, you know, to get it back, it's always going to be difficult. And he has been riding so many kilometres in the front in the last days.
Lars Yittingback there, the back of this 2-man group. Lotto given the prize for the greenest team. We've seen all these green zones where you can throw bidons in that are going to be recycled, given to fans and what have you. And they've won the prize. They were given that prize, the trophy, before today's stage, of being the team that has landed most bottles in the green area over the course of the Giro d'Italia. So They're the king conservationists at the end of everything here.
Well, I suppose it depends on where that zone is, and if you're in the gruppetto, it's easy to throw them in there.
You naughty, naughty man.
So, you know, it's an interesting one, because if you just, you know, look back, it's where it was actually situated. If you're, you know, in a group behind and you're not really racing, well, then you can afford to do that, and you're going to be pretty guaranteed you get them in there.
Nasser lead in the points classification looks like this over Giacomo Nizzolo. 2.63 to 2.25 with Elia Viviani in third. Roberto Ferrari, another man to think about today, in fourth place. Many of you riding in from Ireland who were there in your cycling clubs the first day. Of course, our Giro started by congratulating a cycling club that had ridden up from Cork, I think it was, to Belfast. Wonderful, marvellous ride. I'm sure there are many similar heroic rides to Trieste today in Italy.
Are they still on the way back to Cork?
That's the question. I sure hope they were driving back. But the fellow club Glendale, who've been enjoying the Giro for 3 weeks, hello to them, riding in and saying hello.
And of course the Cork club was called after the Tour of Flanders.
Very nice jerseys as well, didn't they?
Yes, the Ronde.
De Ronde. The Velo Club de Ronde down in Cork. Great ride all the way up to Belfast. Just got there in time for midnight. 25 k's to go on the final stage now. More than 3 weeks on the road for everybody at the Giro d'Italia. Remember, we see the riders here, but all the cooks, the masseurs, bus drivers, trainers, everybody's going to be having a big sleep in tomorrow, aren't they? It's a big one. Time for rest, time for a party first. Trieste is going to be packed out this evening. We've seen an advantage get up to around 40-odd seconds. Everybody fighting for position at the front here. 25 k's to go. Just to see how long these guys can keep it out. On the climb, only climb of this particular final stage. A lot of sprinters trying to hang on to see what can happen. Canada with a big job to do. Ivan Basso at the front. Everybody working for Elia Viviani today. Lars Bak and Svein Tuft. Svein Tuft, who started this Giro d'Italia in pink. First winner of the Maglia Rosa. Yeah, the exchange of jerseys from Australia to Colombia. Of course, Tuft, a Canadian, riding for an Australian team. Here come the Colombians to the front. The only fast man they've really got left in the team is Leo Duque. It's a shame that their sprinter Edwin Avila climbed off, because he is an extremely fast young man. World champion on the track. The only retirement in their team, though. Let's see what Duque can do here, but pretty sure that his fastest days are behind him. '29 at the back there, Manuele Sella. Poor Giro d'Italia from him. Really, really disappointing in all the actions we've seen him involved in. However, Age Desert shown as a team, I think we really have to give a special mention to them and Domenico Pozzovivo. Pozzovivo was talking top 5 before. He's going to end up top 4, really, isn't he?
Yes, well, last year I think he's moved up in the classification, so it's an improvement for him. He was 10th last year, and now he is in the 5th place. So he's made a big inroads in the general classification. And AG2 All Mondial, you know, what a Giro they've been having, because they have been, you know, such a strong team. Unfortunately, they haven't got a stage victory, and you know, they did prepare the terrain real well for Pozzovivo a number of times. And he did put in an attack, but never got you know, the close to getting a stage victory.
Final 600 metres awaits the break again. Great crowds here. We've got the stage set up, by the way. We're going to have the Dire Straits legends playing later on. A few former members of Dire Straits all formed up with a different singer to make a tribute band. Riding on the front is Michael Koch, man who had a bit of a claim to fame in Liège-Bastogne-Liège by taking that famous sprint at 100 kilometres. 5,000 euros. I wonder what he's done with that. There is the stage where we'll see Nairo Quintana crowned the king of the Giro. Watched on television in Colombia, seen by cycling fans around the world. Svein Tuft and Lars Jittingback. The men who decided to sacrifice themselves for a minute possibility of glory. On a circuit race like this, it is so hard, though. You have to be extremely motivated just to put on a show here. They work well together. Both strong guys, both used to being out in this sort of position. Svein Tuft, one of the top time trialists in the world. Michael Koch and Ivan Basso. Pierre Roland riding close to the front as well. The GC boys wanted to stay out of trouble. It gets faster and faster and faster. Tom Stamschneider did a lot of the work in the early stages. He's riding for Giant, the Dutchman, with the white and black. So, what's the time difference? Get the clock up. 3 laps to go. Sardinian flag waved across the head of Fabio Aru. "21 kilometres to go, just 14 seconds. Now, one thing to finally put to bed before we get to the end of the Giro d'Italia, Sean, we've got several of our viewers writing in, left a little disappointed that the Giro d'Italia might have been decided by that horrible day on the Stelvio. My opinion is that Nairo Quintana has shown that he's by far and away the strongest rider, and we can really put that to bed. What about you?
Yes, I think we can certainly put it to bed. We did see on the day he took some advantage by, riding on. Was it a minute and a half? Was it 2 minutes? But if you calculate, I suppose, the maximum of 2 minutes, well then, I think he was the strongest anyway, and he would have been strong on the mountain. I think there would have been more urgency on him if he came to the mountain with the other favourites. He probably would have put in an attack. He had been fresh as well, and we must remember he was the one who did all the riding in the final 10 kilometres and in the valley as well. So and then we went on from there, the individual time trial and the other mountaintop finishes. He was by far the better one, and if it had been much closer at the top between Quintana and Uran, well then you could say, well, maybe he got lucky, or call it what you like. He got the advantage there on that stage, but with the advantage at the moment at 3:07 down to Uran in second place, no question he was the strongest man, and he's the deserving winner of this one.
Fantastic winner of the Giro. 4 hours of riding today. A lot of people watching the Giro for the first time as well. We really do hope enjoyed it. Of course, everybody now seems to want to visit Italy, and that's the effect watching the Giro has, I think, to a lot of people. It's a great tourist advert. 38 kilometres per hour. It's been a slow average speed today, but we expected that. Being slowly ramped up now. Fast pace. Cannondale wanting to do this for Elia Viviani, riding on the front with Michael Koch and Ivan Basso. Hot on their heels, the likes of Sky for Ben Swift as well. Luca Mezgec will be the aim of Giant Shimano. Inside 19 kilometres on the final stage of this 97th Giro d'Italia. Lars Jittingback and Svein Tuft are out there. Svein Tuft, who were the very first Maglia Rosa of this Giro that started all the way back in Northern Ireland. now approaches Trieste. 2.5 laps of this circuit remain. We expect a sprint, but there's little, not a small matter at all of the hill. And again, it's one of those that until you turn up and actually have a look at the hill yourself, see it on the screen like we're seeing it, it actually looks a lot easier, doesn't it, in the road book? It's one of those that when you see it, you think, hang on a minute, this could change things today.
Yes, it certainly could. We've seen there a number of times as they've climbed up that little drag, and it is looking a bit more than we see on the road book. And when they go at a real fast pace, it is going to hurt legs, and if there's some tired ones there, well, then they will have difficulty, the sprinters, holding their position. And you have to be in a really good position, because then it goes downhill very, very fast, and if you have to make up a bit of ground, you can pay for that in the sprint. And the sprint as well, we have seen as they've come through, it's not as, you know, a long straight line, 250 metres, it curves a bit, and that's going to be an important one. You know, positioning coming into that corner is going to be very, very important, and a good lead out train, it's you know, it's vital. If you have that, well, then you have a great chance of doing it. And Cannondale seems to be wanting to take it up. Is there a method here taking it up so early? It's surprising. And will they really, you know, just up the pace from here on as we come onto the climb once again?
Well, Cannondale looking for a little bit more from this Giro d'Italia. They came looking for stage wins. Moreno Moser, we didn't really see much of him, did we? Oscar Gatto hasn't been involved. Ivan Basso has disappointed, even though he had poor form coming into things. 15th place finish in the end from him. What can Elia Viviani do? And it's another team that would like to rescue things. Here we go, attacking this hill this time then. Colombians having a go, Bardiani as well. This is Pirazzi really, really putting it in. Being followed as well. Pirazzi is there, Mikel Landa just behind him. So everything started to change on that hill, and interesting, if this is happening 2.5 laps out short, what's it going to be like when we come to the final couple of laps? Because once more it's becoming so much more difficult to control, and Cannondale have lost control evidently at the front now.
Yes, well, for a team to take it up, you know, with over 3 laps to go, it's going to be difficult to, you know, to keep that going and keep control in the front. But maybe they just want to, you know, just push on here and make it difficult for everybody else. And as we can see, you know, the splits starting to appear, and this is really going to open up the race here with Pirazzi throwing in a big attack on the climb.
Pirazzi goes for it. It was predictable at times on the climb. You knew it would have a go at some time. So the leaders have been caught. Now it is a 5-man group up the front. The feeling that is Leo Duque in there. Didn't get quite a good enough look at him. Love to get a real close-up shot now, or at least a sign of his number. Here, traffic islands to watch out for, coming in fast descent towards the finish. 9% downhill. And this is the chasing bunch. Sky get involved again. Movistar having to have 4 men up the front. And look how fast it is now. Single file all the way.
Yes, it's really stretching out here, and we did see just a moment ago on the climb as they came on to it, very much group up in the peloton, but now stretched out here and going at a super fast rate.
Really, really going fast to the final few kilometres of this Giro d'Italia. 5-man group up the front. Pirazzi in the green, he's the Italian. Mikel Landa's the Basque rider in the light blue of Astana. And behind from Colombia looks to be Leo Duque. Look at him if we can. Or a close enough look to see the face or the number at least. In fact, it's Carlos Quintero, pardon me. It's a 77, not a 75. There we go. 15.5 Ks to go. Beautiful city of Trieste. So Sven Turflaar sitting back, Carlos Quintero, Mikel Landa and Stefano Pirazzi. Confirmed now, we can see that number 77 of Carlos Quintero. So an interesting break of 5. Just got the feeling that the other two was dying a very slow death out there. They're going to come across the line here. It needs committal straight away. It needs people to get interested, get organised. And I'll tell you what, those behind have some work to do. Pirazzi then. Tell you what, there's been organisation behind. Very, very good pace. They know the race is on now. Sprinters team will not want, pardon me, a final slip-up.
No, I think they have to keep control here, and we can see here they're just leave them hang out there at the moment with 2 laps to go as they come over the line here, and it's going at a very fast rate. We can see Stein Tuft and Lars back there in difficulty, just holding on here. They gave their effort, but Pirazzi, as we can see, they're really pushing on, and he knows that he cannot do anything, but as we mentioned some time ago, they're always up for going in the attack and putting on a bit of a show.
I hope that sort of stuff holds off and we can see the show. Dark cloud behind into the mountains. Beautiful down here at the finish line. Just less than 2 laps to go on the final stage of the Giro d'Italia. 5 men out front and just 9 seconds. Sky interested. Movistar wanted to keep things safe. And of course, at the front, Cannondale really want this as well, as do Trek Factory Racing. Giacomo Nizzolo, for Trek it would be, the Italian sprinter. Ben Swift, the man from Yorkshire, racing for Sky, looking for the win that many, self-included, predict that he would pick up at this Giro d'Italia. Elia Viviani, Nasser Bouhanni, Luca Mesquez, Tony Urel, lots of sprinters who could do something here. We have lost a lot of sprinters, remember, let's not count out Roberto Ferrari either. Very, very quiet, consistent, and getting lots of places throughout this Giro d'Italia. Bardiani might want to go with Colbrelli. Agi Dessert lost their man Apollonio, of course. Bol might want to have a go for Belkin. Lots of people, again, trying to take advantage of the tired legs of this Giro d'Italia. Well, they ease off the pace here. This looks as though it might well be done. This is the site, looking down the coast all the way to Slovenia. So the break has gone. 13 Ks remain. Colombia taking it on. Cannondale wanting something as well. Of course, Colombia as a team looking for their stage win. They've been close, they've performed, they've animated the race. That was their brief when they were given the wild card, of course. And they've all done their bit in their own little ways, the pro-continental team, sure.
Yes, certainly have. Some teams, you know, much better than others, getting victories, and that's what it's all about. If you can get a stage victory or a number of stage victories, well then, you know, it's a super race for the team. But if you're in the breakaway, and Colombia, they have been in the breakaways a lot and close on a number of times, and you know, really put in a big battle, and they've had a good Giro. I think they merit being here because they have been in the action, you know, on a lot of times, and as I say, close to getting a stage victory.
Most disappointing pro-continental team, we have to say, is Neri Sottoli. Lot of riders climbing off, 5 riders climbing off, but Andrea Fedi does walk away with a breakaway prize. Big moment for him. Sky here with Philip Dijkman. Had a good Giro despite not getting his stage winners, worked his way back into form and fitness. Today it's all about stringing this out. Michael Koch still behind him. Young German rider for Cannondale in the green. Danilo Hondo coming to the front as well for Trek Factory Racing. Bernie Eisel just a couple of wheels behind him. Big day for Big Bernie and the rest of the Sky team. Can they get the win that they've been hoping for? Will it be another Française des Jeux day? They're staying quiet, staying calm. They got those points at the intermediate sprint. It's more or less sorted for Nasser Bouhanni, barring a disaster. But of course, he would dearly love to win the stage. Pirazzi at the back now. We all await the awarding of the pink jersey to Nairo Quintana. And it's Movistar who take it up. Malori and Castroviejo, well, 2 men who can really push it on. You see Capecchi doing quite a bit of riding on the front as well. Andrea Amador. Quintana's young Mariana, young daughter, waits at the finish line to see her father crowned. And it's Mr. Nairo Quintana's mum. The whole family in attendance. Oh, it's a laid-back feeling as well.
He's certainly like the son, relaxed, no worries there, no nervousness. As we see Quintana on, you know, the real difficult moments, the important moments, very much composed.
Here's the push uphill. Again, trying to make it difficult. Once more, they push ahead. Once again, Bardiani were trying to launch another rider in there. They've gone again. This time it's Buongiorno after that disappointment yesterday, and he's been followed by Cataldo, I think it is. So Buongiorno deserves his moment there. Will try to push it on. Francesco Manuel Buongiorno feels so sorry for him. It could have been the making of the man at win on Zoncolan yesterday. It's not to take anything away from the Aussie Mick Rogers, though, who did take the stage in the end. So, the descent once again. Just one climb to go on that final lap. Is any going to be able to pull it out? At the minute, it's all being kept together by Trek, Sky and Movistar. Quintana is in there. Make a farmer quick step. Remember, no Alessandro Petacchi for them either. Orica Green Edge, well, it's either going to be Tuft or Mitchell Docker, isn't it? Or Michael Hepburn, pardon me, I should say. Fast again. Everybody single file. Wonderful shot there. You get a real appreciation of the speed. Peloton strong that all the way from front to back. It's Hepburn this time. We've already seen Svein Tuft have a go. He's going to drag Cataldo with him. Buongiorno's still there, and he'll attack once more. Brilliant stuff by Bardiani. Francesco Buongiorno. Well, what a story it would be. Again, don't put a bet on it, because it probably won't happen. 999 times out of 100. But Buongiorno will try, why not? And at least he'll string them out. 8.3 Ks to go. Calm, briefly restored to the peloton. 4¼ hours here. Well, you've seen them going up and around. Can you see this being broken apart on the climb?
Well, we can see Sky are just staying around the front. There were a number of riders together. We would see when Buongiorno went to the attack, Cataldo following, but not really contributing. So I think they're waiting and they're going to really try and up the pace on this final climb. It's the opportunity for them to, you know, to try and put, I think, Bohani, and we've seen it already in the race. They've done it, and I think we will see a repeat of that.
Approaching the last lap then. All the way back for Francis Desjeux and Bohani. They're certainly not anywhere near the front at the moment. Sky are doing a good job. Philip Dijkden yet again. Feline just behind. Danilo Honda a little further down. And they're going to take the bell. Dijkden's going to lead them across. Hepburn third wheel. So Dijkden going to lead the peloton over the line for the final time before the final lap. 1 lap to go of this final circuit, 7 kilometres to go of this Giro d'Italia. At the minute, we're all together, a sprint coming up. Can somebody provide a surprise as the dark clouds gather above Trieste? Please let it be dry for this final lap. Raining in the distance, dry at the minute on the finish. Fabio Feline takes over the pulling of the peloton at the front for Trek Factory Racing. They want to do their best for Giacomo Nizzolo today. Ben Swift for Sky, perhaps. They've been doing a heck of a lot of riding on the front. And here come Europcar. Riding for Tony Urel. And 1 second place in the Tour de Romandie. Belkin bring their men to the front. No sign of Francis Desjeux. Yes, right at the bottom of the screen. Well spotted, Sean. Just moving into position.
Yes, they're slowly appearing. They were a bit further off there as we went through the finish area, and we can see now Chavanel will be surely him who will take Bohani steadily to the front, and they're in about, what, 20th position at the moment. There's a little bit of slowdown here in the front of the peloton, and that will give them the advantage, the possibility of getting very much to the front end of the peloton.
So on the left-hand side in the black and white, we have the Trek Factory racing rider from Italy, Fabio Fellina. Just behind him, the Irish Team Sky rider, who gets to flick of the elbow from the Italian, comes over in his black and blue to take on the running of the peloton. And it's the Neo-Pro, Michael Hepburn, in third place in the white, yellow and green of Orica Green Edge. Sky lined out really well. They've got the entire train up here. The way they're setting up, Sean, you guess they really are going to try that tactic that we saw, and they're going to put everything into this final climb.
Yes, I think the sprint will start at the bottom of the climb and go all the way to the finish. And we did see that on one other occasion.
Salso Maggiore, I think it was.
Yes, on that difficult climb, and they really, you know, sprinted upwards. And I think today they're going to try the same thing, just line it out from that point. And I think they have made the calculation. That's their possibility. Put Bohani under a bit of difficulty and see can they take him and beat him in this sprint.
Bohani being moved up by his team towards the front. There he is in the red jersey on the bottom left of your screen, surrounded by the blue jerseys of his team, Francis Desjeux. The red jersey for the Frenchman is the points jersey. They're doing a really good job. Murilo Fischer and Sébastien Chavanel will be the men in charge of putting him in the right place. General slowdown as Francis Desjeux allowed to get back into places. Giant Shimano are leaving it late. They're coming on the right-hand side now, the white and black. Of course, leaving it late in terms of positioning. They'll want to try and do their best for Luca Mezgec today. Look at this, though. It is flat out at the front from Philip Dijkman, who is doing a sterling job with 4.5 kilometres to go. Not far away now from this climb beginning. Hondo takes it over for Trek Factory Racing. 215 right in the centre in the black jersey. This is now Cataldo at the front for Team Sky as well on the left. Basso takes it on as well. Cannondale have work to do for Elia Viviani. Francis Desjeux slightly distanced there. Leo Duque, as we suggested, just surfing the wheels. And 94 though, well, Tyler Farrer still in the Giro. Hardly seen him since the first week. I'd almost forgotten about him, Sean.
Yes, me too. There's so many of the royals we haven't seen in this final week because of the train we've been over, and Farah, we've seen him, you know, in this race. He's been up there, but you know, hasn't looked like you know, has got the outright speed. But again, it's going to be a difficult one here because the week we've had, and if he's got through the mountains a bit better, who knows.
Alafaci takes over at the front. It's also going to suit Trek Factory Racing to do this climb hard as well. They want to try and distance Bohani too. On the right-hand side, then, Cataldo's going for it for Sky. We have good riding from Adam Hansen out the front for Lotto, who's trying to take his last chance to get over, get up and do his best. Oscar Gatto trying to get on the tailcoats of that one as well. If a small group were to go, then Oscar Gatto would be the quickest man in it. Most would agree. This is the final climb then of the Giro d'Italia. Bohani at the minute being slightly distant. It's Hansen there, and this is Ben Hermans who's going to have a go. Ben Hermans for BMC. Turning on the right-hand side, Sky not really able to do the damage they would have wished. Same going to be set for Trek Factory Racing. It's quick. It is very quick. Peloton really strong out. There is Ben Hermans. Pulls off onto the right-hand side. Samuel Sanchez there as well, trying to help him. Belkin with the body at the front. Look behind us, it's all strong out. Nobody really able to distance too many, but where are Francis Desjeux? Where are the sprinters, and how is this going to form in the last 2.5 kilometres? It's downhill here, so it's going to be very, very fast. A lot of the teams will be panicking already, Sean.
Yes, I think it's, if you're a little bit too far off here, you will be panicking, because to get back with this very fast descent, as we have seen in the previous laps, you have to, you know, make that big effort to get back into position, and we can see very fast rate here, lined out.
Ben Hermans it is. I tell a lie, no, it's Daniel Oss, pardon me, who's got away. Ben Hermans on the climb. Hermans and Sanchez obviously doing a job for this man. And well, Daniel Oss is one of the faster rouleurs out there. Can he get away from those chasing on behind? Into the final 2 kilometres, why not have a go from Daniel Oss? Chases on behind, Hansen is there as well. Hansen it is who takes it up the front. Buongiorno and Canola. Gian Shimano just restoring a bit of order. But he's rejoining. Farah's made it. It's looking very good for Giant. They're together on this left-hand side as we look at it, with Simon Geskia leading them up, leading the chase for Daniel Oss. Daniel Oss, in the meantime, looking to get into the last kilometre in the lead, but behind it's all rejoining, reforming. It's crazy. It's all messed up. They're all over the place. Can anybody get organised in the last kilometre? And looking around, where is the red jersey of Nasser Bouhanni? At the minute, looking distanced. Looking very, very distanced indeed. Last kilometre then. Anything could happen here, sure. Yes,
we can see Bouhanni is appearing here. He's in about 10th place, starting to move up, and he has the Française de Giro rider in front of him, so I think it is still possible, but the team on the front, we can see here, Gian Shimano, a number of riders.
Trek Factory Racing taking it up as well. I'll tell you what, though, it's looking better by the pedal stroke for Nasser Bouhanni. What a job being done by Sebastian Chavanel. This is absolutely wonderful. Roberto Ferrari's on his wheels. Ben Swift is hanging in there, surfing and doing what he can. Luca Mezgec has made it too. On the right-hand side, you see Colbrelli, but what a lead-out this is being done by Sebastian Chavanel. It is Ferrari on the wheel at the minute, though. 36 who's going to have a go there. Sonny Colbrelli coming in the green on the right-hand side. Ferrari's going to launch it out. Farah's going to have a go as well. Mizzola coming through the centre. The red jersey of Bouhanni ready for the final lift-off. Bouhanni's there, but no. It's Mezgec who takes it on the left-hand side. And Trieste, finally, is Slovenian. Luka Mezgec, arms raised in the air. And, well, if it wasn't going to be an Italian here, the next best popular man would be Luka Mezgec. He's been looking for that all Giro. Giant take the win. And Luka Mezgec, in front of many visiting fans, takes the final stage of the Giro. All the delight there for this man, Nairo Quintana, who is congratulated officially now as the winner of the 97th Giro d'Italia. Oh, what a final kilometre, all over the place, no real organisations. It was rider against rider, wheel against wheel, and there is that Slovenian support we talked about. Luka Mezgec, what a sprint, Sean.
Yes, what a sprint, and I think, as we mentioned, Gian Shimano seemed to have, 3 or 4 riders together, so just kept him in a good position. We could see Ferrari took it up a bit early. It looked like he was going to hold on, so Mezgec from Tyler Ferrari.
Oh yeah, baby!
Luka Mezgec, Nizzolo, Farah, Bouhanni, Ferrari, Duque. Well, Luca Paolini 7th in the sprint at the end as well. Tosh van der Sande, Borut Bozic, the other Slovenian we mentioned, and Iljo Kesa given a chance to have a sprint for Omega Pharma Quickstep. They're looking down after 4th, 5th position, just shows you and suggests exactly what kind of sprint that was.
Yes, as we can see it here, we can see Française de Giro starting to move up very well, with Ferrari in the wheel of the Française de Giro rider, with Bouhanni in a really good position. And at this moment we can see Mezgec just getting a little bit pushed out here by a number of riders in the wheel of Tyler Ferrari, and a lot of movement here, no team, at this point. Gian Shimano has lost the control, and it's just every man for himself.
Ferrari's the man on the right hand side. Look at that for a sprint. Wonderful sprint from Luka Mezgec.